On the cold winter evening of December 3rd, 1926, a strange mystery shocked the whole of Britain. Agatha Christie, who was already a very famous and successful detective writer, climbed into her small car and drove away from her beautiful home in Berkshire. She did not tell anyone where she was going, leaving her young daughter and terrified servants behind. The next morning, her abandoned car was discovered near a steep, dangerous cliff called Silent Pool. The vehicle was damaged, its lights were still turned on, and Agatha's fur coat and old briefcase were left on the seat inside. However, the famous author herself had completely vanished into thin air without a trace. The dark scene looked exactly like a tragic plot from one of her popular crime novels. Within hours, newspapers across the country published the shocking news, and thousands of frightened fans wondered if the Queen of Mystery had met a terrible end. To understand why the writer ran away that cold night, we must look at her secret personal life. The year 1926 was incredibly difficult and painful for Agatha. First, her beloved mother passed away, which left the young author in a state of deep emotional depression. Then, a few months later, her husband, Archibald Christie, broke her heart completely. He coldly confessed that he was deeply in love with another, younger woman named Nancy Neal, and he officially demanded a divorce. Agatha was devastated and spent weeks crying in her empty house, struggling with endless grief and pressure. Her perfect world was falling apart, and her mind was exhausted from working too hard on her books. On that fateful December evening, after a terrible argument with her husband, Agatha simply reached her breaking point. She decided that she could no longer stay in the place that caused her so much intense suffering and sadness. The sudden disappearance of the famous writer started one of the largest and most expensive police searches in British history. More than 1,000 police officers, along with hundreds of civilian volunteers, searched the dark forests and deep lakes for any clues. For the very first time, airplanes were used to look for a missing person from the sky. Even other famous detective writers, like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the creator of Sherlock Holmes, tried to help solve the mystery. Conan Doyle was so desperate that he took one of Agatha's gloves to a spiritual medium, hoping to find her through supernatural forces. Millions of people read the daily updates in the newspapers, and many began to suspect Archibald Christie. People openly accused the husband of murdering his wife because of his secret love affair. The public pressure was immense, but the police found absolutely no evidence of a crime. While the entire country was panicking and looking for her body, Agatha was actually living a peaceful life in a luxury hotel. She had traveled by train to the elegant town of Harrogate, a popular place where wealthy people went to rest and improve their health. Curiously, she checked in to the Grand Swan Hydropathic Hotel using a fake name, Teresa Neal. This choice of surname was incredibly shocking because Neal was the exact last name of her husband's secret lover. At the hotel, Agatha behaved like a perfectly normal, happy guest. She wore elegant dresses, joined the other visitors for expensive dinners, sang beautifully at the piano, and read the newspapers every morning. Surprisingly, nobody recognized her face, even though her photographs were printed on the front page of every national newspaper. She seemed completely calm, as if she had successfully escaped her painful reality. The grand mystery finally came to an end after 11 long days of searching. A banjo player who worked in the hotel ballroom noticed that the quiet guest looked exactly like the missing writer from the news. He immediately contacted the local police, who informed Archibald Christie. On December 14th, the husband arrived at the hotel and sat in the lobby, waiting for his wife. When Agatha walked down the stairs, she recognized him, but greeted him warmly like a distant friend, without any strong emotion. When the police questioned her, the writer claimed that she suffered from severe memory loss and could not remember who she was or how she arrived in Harrogate. Doctors later suggested that she experienced a rare psychological state called a fugue, which was caused by deep trauma and emotional shock. She had literally forgotten her own identity to protect her mind from grief. Agatha Christie recovered from her trauma, but she never spoke about those 11 mysterious days for the rest of her life. In her long autobiography, she completely ignored the event, leaving her fans to guess the truth forever. Some critics believed the disappearance was just a clever publicity stunt to sell more books, while others thought she wanted to punish her husband by making him a murder suspect. Shortly after the incident, Agatha and Archibald officially divorced, and she later found true happiness with her second husband. She went on to write many more brilliant masterpieces, becoming the best-selling novelist of all time. However, her own 11-day disappearance remains her most fascinating unwritten story. A real-life puzzle that even her famous characters, Hercule Poirot and Miss Marple, could never fully solve.